Hi, in this transaction I am going to demonstrate how to define the transaction type at the header level as well as the line level. The navigation to define whether the transaction at the header level or the line level is the same from the same window. That would be from the order management super user. You can go to the setup and you can go to the transaction types and you can defined window. The first option you would see is about the operating unit. This is a new feature which was introduced in the release 12. It gives you an access in which operating unit you want to define this transaction type. So this would be specific to the operating unit which you have defined, and this is the list of values which are populating in this particular field is all based on the Envoy security profile which was defined in your instance. So I'm just choosing vision operations. I need to give the name of the transaction type I want. I want to define it for a line, so I'm just giving this PK order line. Description, I will just mention the same. Okay, the order category would have a 3 values: mixed, order, written. We can choose any of them. If we want to have specific this order type to be specific only for the order, then it would be we would be choosing the order. If we want this to be for the written, then we would choose written. If we want to choose this we want to use this transaction for both the purpose for the line and for the order and for the return, then we choose the mixed. Then I would go with the order for this moment. Transaction type code, to what level you want this transaction to be, whether it has to be the line or whether it has to be for the header level. So I want this to be for the line level, so I just choose the line. If I want to choose for the header, I would choose the order. The fulfillment field, the moment I choose the the transaction type code as in a line, the fulfillment flow field got grayed out. It's because for the line level you cannot associate the workflow directly at the definition of a transaction type. So at the definition time you would not be able to give any workflow attached to the line level transaction. It's the same for the negotiation flow. The effective date, the other things, everything got grayed out. If you want to associate any price list, the rest of things, whatever you have it in the tab, it's all the optional. Whatever the values you give here, it all get defaulted when you give this type when you're defining there. I just choose some price list. Let me choose the corporate. If you check this option, enforce price list, the system would not allow you to change the price list when it populates in your sales order, creating the sales order form. It would not allow you to change this price list. For the moment I just want to uncheck. We can add more price lists of your choice. We can have any price list associated, but it just, whatever the value I give here, it just defaults. The value would populate there, but it always gives you an option to change that value. Shipping, from which warehouse it has to take up. I'm just choosing one of them. Okay, I choose, this is nothing but the M1. I'm not choosing any other value, but I just would like to discuss about the shipping source type. This would have an internal and an external. we got a different sales order types to be created. We have the normal standard sales order, we have back-to-back order or drop shipment order. So when we are creating a drop shipment order or back-to-back order, these are the material would not be manufactured or would not be shipped from our inventory. It would be from the external source. If it is a drop shipment method, it's directly the material would go from the vendor location to the customer location. We just receives the invoice once the material has been given to the customer, and we would be generating based on the invoice. We would be giving that invoice to the customer, and then we are just kind of mediators. So the point is, when we are for the drop shipment or for the back-to-back order, the order type, the shipment source type would be the external. For the rest of things, it's always the internal. So it's always better to choose internal. And when we are creating the different type of orders, like a drop shipment order or something like that, we can just change that value from internal to the external. So I always keep this option always as an internal. This would the normal most of the orders what we create, it would be always the internal source type. So I like this option to be there, so I need not to choose all the time this value, internal value. The sourcing, whatever the different we can just the values being displayed by default. So I'm just choosing one of them, or I can just ignore at this moment. Let me just ignore this, and I'm just saving this one. See, I have not I have not given any workflow when I'm creating the transaction type for the line. Let me quickly choose create the header one. Operating unit, it would be the same. Order, I'm choosing for the header, creating for the header, so I'm just giving the header name PK order header transaction. The category, now you can again, let us just choose the order one. Transaction code would be order. Now it gives you an option for the fulfillment. There it's different workflows has been listed. I'm just choosing the order, which is generic, order flow generic. They are, but they're different. If you want to be approvals to be associated with this, then we can choose generic with an approval, or with pricing approval, or different things has been given. This is the one workflow being given for an servicing items. You don't receive any items, but when you are processing the service items, you would like to choose this workflow. This was designed for the service items. So I'm just choosing the order flow generic. Normally, in any instance, any client's instance, they would have their own workflow design, and they would have their own logic. Then those workflows would be attached to your transaction type. If you want to have the negotiation for the transaction, then you would have you would have in a similar type of workflows. You can associate if you want to have the negotiations. Let us just add and see, and when we request, you would see two different transaction type would have been defined, would be found. So I'm just, for that specific purpose, I'm just choosing negotiation flow as well. So this is the transaction type. What we have defined is just the one, PK order header. Let us see just what happens. I'm just adding this flow as well, negotiation flow. I'm just populating and associating one workflow to this field, and going ahead with the other things. Now I want to attach the okay, it's you have to save before you attach the line workflows. So I'm attaching my line transaction type. The process, see, this is the process name. The process name is nothing but the workflow name it asks for. So I'm just choosing the generic one. Let us choose this. The active date would be this. You can have it gives you the option to add n number of workflows for the line level. So whatever the workflows you would attach here for the header, whatever the number of workflows you attach, you'll be able to use any of those workflows when you use the transaction type for the sales order. Let me choose one more. Let me choose I have this transaction already created. So you may have any different workflows for the line level as well. I mean, you may have for an order line creation, or you may have a different workflow for a return line. So it's all depends upon your choice. I mean, you may have a different transaction lines created for the line level, and you may have different workflows attached to a different transaction. So I'm just, for an example, I'm just creating two different transactions at the line level, and I'm associating to the header level. So I'll show you an option when I'm choosing this transaction PK order header. When I'm creating a sales order, then it gives me an option, choose any of these listed line level transaction types. So I'm just choosing, click OK. I'm not giving any end date. I click OK and I click OK. It automatically saves that. Workflow validation, I can just do that, and it submits the request ID. It's something like the similarly. Once that is done, like, we just click on the validate workflow. It would submit some request and it would associate it to that. So it would be ready by this time, and so like we can just create one sales order of our choice with our transaction type.